Hi, it's Andy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Welcome to the ADK channel, and today we are going to be checking out the new single from TesseracT, War of Being. Now, for anyone that doesn't know our channel before, we are now doing a different variety of breakdowns. So this isn't your classic style of reaction. We do a very formulaic breakdown, and you'll hopefully get used to it. But there is going to be lots of stopping, lots of discussion as we go, and a very brief summary at the end. But this is quite a long video at just shy of 11 minutes. So let's go check it out. Okay, there's the rule. First 30 seconds of a song. Has it hooked us? Has it made us want to watch it further? Kicking in with Andy. First thoughts on this first 30 seconds?
Have we done TesseracT before on the channel?
No, first time.
I've never heard of them before. Know the name. I knew they were kind of very experimental, probably amazing musicians, and maybe, as you said, David, in off camera on the intro, a lot going on. But yeah, not a lot's going on musically so far, but I like the visuals. Yeah, let's crack on and see what we've got to offer.
Yeah, so I'm very much the same. I like some of the djenting style of real kind of heavy guitars. So there's enough there to keep me going, and a very interesting video. You, Kirk?
Okay, so I'm the fanboy of this band, so we can't just crack on without me leaving a comment. I'll keep it to 30 seconds. This is a lot heavier than the last two albums, so that'll confuse you, Andy. But like, this is heavy. Yeah, they've gone in a far more metal direction here. I already like the interplay between guitars and drums, and I love the guitar tunings they're using.
Let's carry on. Okay, so we're 3 minutes in. Let's get some views on where we're up to, vibe of the video, track. Andy, what's your thoughts so far now, going 3 minutes in?
the opening sort of musical passage, there seems to be one drum that seems very prominent in the mix. You know, Kirk will probably identify that. I don't know if that's their style. That's a little unusual. I quite like it. It's unusual. It is heavy. I am enjoying it. It's really good. I'm pleased it's not as sort of self-indulgent and playing extreme layers of music just for the sake of it, which is what I was expecting from a band that I know a little bit about from this genre and from what people have said about it. Not so keen on the clean vocals, but the harsh vocals I really, really like. But yeah, it's again, I might be sort of being introduced to a new band to check out, especially if this is the direction they're going in. Maybe not their older stuff if it's not quite as heavy as this, but yeah, so far so good.
Okay. For me, really like the video. I think visually looks great. Really interesting, the samurai warriors, and just generally the whole setup of the video looks amazing. It's amazing how far the CGI quality of videos has really moved forward over the years, compared to if you look back to like the early 2000s Linkin Park videos that looked almost comical. So I've really enjoyed that. I love the clean vocals. I love his switch between clean and heavy. It's flawless transition. And works, so he's just switching back and forth really quickly, which I think is great. There's elements of some of those tones that reminds me of sort of doom tones as well. Even though it's not doom music, there's definitely doom elements in some of the way that some of those riffs are coming out. This transitional period that we've just gone through after what I would have kind of loosely called almost a chorusy bit, if you can call it a chorus. I know it's not, but coming out of that, going into this odd time where the drums are kind of keeping a real solid beat, the guitars are playing on the off tempo. That seems to have gone on way too long for me. I thought it was quite interesting as a transitional passage. Now it just feels like it's lingering around way too long, and I'm losing interest in the track. It needs to kind of go back to that. I'm waiting for that clean vocal to come back in. This also reminds me of this is in my head, what I thought Sleep Token was going to sound like before hearing Sleep Token. If that makes sense as well, that kind of, it's very theatrical, it's very textured, but not as so many layers like we talked about when we talked about Tegmentum and about everything apart and the kitchen sink being thrown at it. This feels like they've been a little bit more restrained, I guess is probably what I'm thinking here. Kirk, yourself?
Yeah, TesseracT fans are going to be celebrating wildly here. So we've all been asking, can Dan Tompkins do some harsh vocals? Because he's probably the best rock singer in the world. It's no exaggeration to say that. He's not demonstrated that yet. But trust me, you are going to get some, possibly even some falsetto moments from this guy. He is incredible. He's actually a vocal coach as well. That, what you just said there, Dave, is classic TesseracT. The drums stay in 4/4 timing and the guitars are deliberately off kilter, and that's what creates the polyrhythm. I'm hearing a lot of Gojira in this, in the production. And just one final thing, I am for once going to comment on the video. It reminds me, Andy, do you know the H.R. Geiger, the film Alien, or that series, that imagery, I think in the background, certainly like the James Cameron, and what was he called? Ridley Scott, who did the first one, definitely similar imagery there. And you can tell that this band are pivoting themselves towards the American audience here, because this is a band that clearly have got global pretensions to grow, and they should do on this album.
Okay. Let's kick on for the next, I guess, 3 minutes worth. Let's see, roughly. Let's go. Okay, we're 2/3 of the way through the track. We've had some different transitions going on there. So, Andy, thoughts at this point? You still with us?
Yeah. I've got to say, sort of last time out, the sort of fighting samurais look very sort of next gen video game, don't they? Obviously,
Yeah.
that's the intention, but that looks really good. I'm still not won over by these clean vocals. I don't think they're metal enough. If that's not too much of a contradiction, you know what I mean? I enjoy plenty of amazing clean vocals, male and female, but this guy just sounds too pop orientated. I don't know how this compares, Kirk, to previous each other. It just doesn't seem to work with the heaviness of the music. You know, he could sing clean, but in a slightly different style, slightly different approach to make it better. It's kind of a little bit disappointing. There's not enough harsh anyway, but the clean,
Okay.
which is the majority of it, aren't metal enough for me.
Fair enough. I don't mind. I actually don't mind the vocals, but I do understand what you mean about the clean feeling very poppy. It's a little bit. It's not rockin'. It's not rocky enough in the clean.
Yeah.
You get the good clean vocalists that are rock. This feels like a clean vocalist that's pop.
Exactly.
I don't have a massive problem with that because I do like a lot of rock of guys that sing in that pop style, but I understand where Andy's coming from, and it does take a little bit of time. The fact that he's transitioning from clean into some really good heavy bits, but then going straight back to these clean bits, I feel that he's almost teasing you a little bit too much, and I'd like to hear a little bit more of that aggression for longer passages, not just dynamic points. And I think he's obviously doing that intentionally. He's trying to get certain key dynamic vocal phrases and then go back. We've had some interesting time signature changes. So we had some nice standard called 4/4s. Then we went to a 3/2 drum pattern, back into a 4/4, then back to a 3/2. And so unless you're really if your body's trying to connect with the music, you're not during that 3/2 drum pattern, unless you start counting in a 3/2 drum pattern, you're not going to be able to lock with it. Because you're trying to do it and then it's suddenly changing on the 3 and you're on the 4th and you're going, oh no, hang on, that's not right. I'm out of time with it again now. So it's one of these interesting drum patterns. 3/2 is a very kind of prog metal time signature. So I understood where they were going with that. Love the bass tone overall. It does, and I was expecting it to be a relatively long song, but it now feels like they're dragging. I feel like they could have had another change by now, but that's more a case of me being more of a 3-4 minute song. Get in there. I'm a rock guy. I like my hard rock stuff. They tend to be no longer than about 4 minutes. So by now I'd be halfway through my second song. So that's on me. I think within the prog metal kind of style, I'm sure that this is fairly normal. So yeah, anyway, over to you, Kirk.
Yeah, no, Andy, I understand where you're coming from. This is a band that are not easy to get into because they're prog metal. If this was the first time hearing this band, I'd be worried that there's no song structure here. We only seem to have heard something approaching a chorus at 5 minutes and 50 seconds because I'm used to this and I never know what to expect with TesseracT. But one thing I will say, there's always a lot of space in their songs. It's almost like the paradoxical. They're creating something that I call technical minimalism. So you don't have guitar shredding in any of their songs, but the rhythmic prowess is just incredible at times. And did you hear the bass playing from Amos Williams as well?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is such a hard song to break down because we don't know where it's going. And there's been so many different parts that some of them I've already just lost in my memory. The vocals, though, this genre for me has the best vocalists in the world. So Spencer Sotelo, Periphery, Lucas Magyar, Veil of Maya, that Australian band Voyager, who actually participated in the Eurovision. That you really have to be one of the best singers in the world. So Andy, one of the reasons people don't like the gent element of progressive metal is that it's actually brought in this really technical form of singing. It's got actually more, it's like a more tuneful version of Tom York from Radiohead or Matt Bellamy from Muse. And then he's putting that with contrasting vocals. And you're right, one final thing, people cannot get their heads around this. It's like they're playing Meshuggah's guitar tunings and writing alternative rock, yet there's no bridge or chorus. It's just so hard to categorize, isn't it?
Yeah, very interesting so far. Right, final third. Let's go.
The words that I whispered when it all began, did they shine a light on you? You don't understand. To dream of falling like sun twisted and stormy. Listening as you
Okay, there we go. Some Tesseract. We go around the houses then. So over to you, Andy. First, overall thoughts then.
They're obviously trying to write an epic track, and I think they've succeeded in that. I mean, there were some passages that I really, really liked. I think if I was to hear it in entirety, I'd probably enjoy it a little bit more. I think I'd absolutely love it if I was more on board with the vocals. The last section that we watched was really good. I thought there's just as the fight sort of recommenced again, there was a sort of faster passage, and there's this sort of unorthodox, unusual drum pattern, which reminded me with the guitars underneath of one of my favourite bands. Do you know Confessor? Sort of avant-garde doom band from North Carolina. Been around for 30 odd years. They're sort of almost prog doom. They're probably the most unusual out there band that I like, and there's elements of Confessor in that section. I also like the keyboard or the piano sections that sandwiched the vocals towards the end of the song. I thought that was really nice. But yeah, I think I'll get more from it. Watch it from start to finish. The video was amazing. I really like the visuals on the video. Not quite sure if it was telling a story that was connected to the song, but the sort of the landscapes that you could see, and the fighting samurai robots, whatever they were, intercut with the band performance was really good as well. One thing I did pick up early on, we've seen this quite a lot, haven't we? The vocalist is kind of performing on his own without the band. That seems to be a technique and style that's employed a lot, isn't it?
Mm.
Either because the singer is playing a character, and then putting him in with the band would make it not make sense. But the vocalist was away from his bandmates, which I like the look of that as well. But yeah, positive reaction overall from my first experience of Tesseract.
Okay. I'll go next. So I'm going to use a simple saying. There's a really good 5-minute song in there somewhere. And that's what I'm going to stick with, because if I break it down, the first 3 minutes really liked it, with a few little bits near the end that was dragging on. Second 3 minutes I was like, yeah, not bad, waning a little bit, and then the last 3 minutes I was bored until the last minute of it, and then it kind of kicked in and I really liked the last minute. So I would kind of say
You're
that
a radio
get-
editor, don't you?
I,
You're
there
a
needs to be like if there was a 5 minute, and you could just cut out some of the bloatware in there. There's a bit of bloatiness in there for me, but I'm sure TesseracT fans are going to hate me for saying that. But it's just you lost me. If I'd been watching this in a non-reaction point, about 6 minutes in, I would have probably jumped to another video because I had just gone to the point. I'm like, no, you're not interested in me anymore. But there was some good stuff at the end, but it lost me. The problem also was the video was interesting at the start, but I started, as you said, Andy, you weren't looking for the story, but I started looking for what the story was. I was going, War of Being, okay. Then I started listening to the lyrics going, well, the lyrics don't really make much sense to what's going on in the video from what I could tell without having the lyric sheets. Just what I could hear, I was like, so they've got this masked or this ceramic female, I'm guessing looks more feminine character, 2 samurais, one coming back from looking like he's dead, comes back and continues the fighting. Okay, well, that's 10 minutes of watching this. I'm not sure what's going on, and at the end I still didn't feel like we got to an end of a story. And if you're going to spend that much money on a video to do with that much quality of graphics, you feel like there could have been a story. But what we saw at the end was effectively what we saw in the first minute of the video as well. There wasn't really any... The landscapes hadn't changed, the graphics hadn't changed, the samurais were still fighting. They were at minute 1, they were fighting at minute 10. So I felt a little bit let down because your brain is trying to follow that video and engage it with it. And when you're just seeing repetition and not really any progression, you do kind of wane. So that's my overall thought. I would really love to I almost in my head was like, I'm going to take that song and I'm going to go into my DAW program in Cubase and start cutting it into like a 5-minute version that I can really enjoy. Just to annoy people, that'll be me. But overall, very impressive from the band. I don't know if I could do an album of this. That would be my other thing. I think that, not necessarily from a vocal point of view, just that kind of, as you said, the polyrhythm elements, I'm like, it's not really my sort of thing. So if I had a whole album of that, I would definitely tune out. But I would definitely listen to it from a song-to-song basis, maybe. Kirk, over to you.
So I used to say that this is a metal band that, without knowing it, targeting the Kira and Depeche Mode's audience. I'm going to change that judgment now and say that as metalheads and people into heavy music, we always have those bands, don't we, outside of heavy music we go to, and it's like, oh, because everyone else likes them, and that band's Radiohead, isn't it? And now when I hear TesseracT, I feel like saying you don't need to go and listen to Kid A or OK Computer by Radiohead. We've got a band in-house now that do this for you, and all the guitar playing in that, all the techniques are just pure prog metal, aren't they? You won't even call that rock. It's just metal, what they're playing. And James Monteith, the tall guy with the long hair, he was playing. He might have heard of Confessor, and his nickname within the band is Metal, James Metal Monteith.
All right.
And so they're signed to the label called K-Scope, which I believe is a subsidiary of Peaceful. So Andy, that's why I think James might have heard of Confessor, because obviously Nick Holmes used to wear that T-shirt, didn't he, of the band, and he's probably is a fan of Paradise Lost. The vocals, I do need to address this. I'm so used to those vocals. Do you know what's unique about this band as well? Every other gent band, when they do clean vocals, they just sound like a fucking teenage emo band, don't they? Clearly, TesseracT do not. They're one of the few bands who've managed to inject that sense of sorrow that Robert Smith produces when you listen to The Cure. And it's an adult voice, isn't it? You don't ever feel like a teenager in a bedroom, wanting to self-harm. You don't feel like your world is under threat because you've been grounded by your parents. So I'll always say kudos to TesseracT for doing that. They've shown that you can actually sound like a mature band and still use some of those poppier vocals. And there were elements in that where there's a tear strolling down his face. And I think another thing that might put people off TesseracT, Dan Tompkins doesn't look like a metalhead. He's obviously a handsome guy, isn't he? You look at him and you just think, should you be in a pop band? But when you listen to the music, you just don't know what the hell's coming next here. This song, I'll need to listen to it 4 or 5 times to understand it. And I've got to say, I'm excited about the album, but I was excited about the Periphery album when we heard Wildfire, and I was like, this is going to be the album of the year, and it's definitely not the album of the year. So I'm going to be a bit cautious with this one. But I am excited about what I've heard here, and I'm thrilled that Tompkins has really expanded his vocal range on this song.
Okay. Well, there you go. That was our breakdown of Tesseract and War of Being. Now, if you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you on the video sometime very soon. Take care.